This is a walkthrough of our pet billboard project. First thing I need to do is download the petbillboards.zip. That's a compressed folder that's saved as one item rather than a loose collection of a bunch of different things. Find it, double click on it. It'll expand, and now I actually see the folder right above it. So I'm going to double click to open up the folder. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this pet billboard sample go by. This is what we're going to be working on. We're going to make this dog billboard. And then we're going to quickly copy it, most of the elements, and we're going to come back in and change this so that it looks like this. So we're going to make a cat one. So it's going to take us a decent amount of time to make the dog and almost no time at all to recreate the cat. So before we get started, I know that I have a font that I'm asking you to use that is not installed on your Mac. So here's this folder called Oswald font. Open up the folder. I don't need all these different weights. We just need the Oswald bold. So double click on it. And then on a Mac, it'll automatically install the font book and hit install font. Close this up. Close the Oswald font folder. Great. Now I'm ready to go ahead and launch InDesign. Since I've been using this copy of InDesign, I've got preview thumbnails of a bunch of previous projects. You may not have anything showing up in here until you've actually built a couple of things with the new school's version of it. I need to hit either create new, or I can go up to file and pull down to new document. Both of them take me to the same place. First thing I want to do is, you're probably not used to working in picas, so up here in the top right corner, change the word from picas to inches. And this happens to be the right dimension. So it should probably pop up on yours saying 8.5 by 11. Change this to 24 by 10. Make sure that this is not a portrait document, that instead you've clicked the wide document or the wide man or landscape. One page, start page number 1. This will probably turn on facing pages checked, turn it off. One column, and set all of your margins to be 0.5 of an inch or half of an inch. So again, 24 by 10, wide man, one page, start page 1, no facing pages, one column, half-inch margins. Hit create. Here's my page. This black border around the edge of this is my actual 24 by 10. These pink and purple lines right here are my half-inch margin that goes all the way around the edge of the document. Okay, next thing I want to do is I want to place my picture. Several ways to do this. We'll go through the simplest way first. Go up to File, pull down to Place. Do not try to drag the photograph from the folder onto the page. That's not how InDesign is built, and you'll end up doing all the work and then realize when you're trying to make the PDF that it's going to make a very low-res version of it, because InDesign does not like you dropping and dragging and dropping pictures from folders into this. So go to File, pull down to Place. Navigate to the Pet Billboards folder. Open it up, open up the Photos and Links folder. You're looking for not Adorable Animal Bowl, but French Bulldog Summer Smile Joy with the word wide at the end. You can double click on this or click once and then the word open. I can now go ahead and just click to place the picture on the page. I'm going to move this up into the top left corner. I'm going to push and hold down, and I'm going to drag. Be very careful of something though. If you grab it and move it, you'll move the frame, but then the picture doesn't move until you let go of the mouse. And that's like a two-step process, and you waste a lot of time doing that. Instead, when you want to move something, push and hold on it. Wait till that little gray box pops up to the right of the arrow that gives it the XY coordinate. And now when you move, it'll move everything at one time. The only thing you want to be careful of doing with that is you don't want to be touching this gun target symbol, or else it'll do something weird. So now what I need to do is I'm going to go over here and look at my go by. So I'm just hitting Command Shift on a Mac to be able to get that to pop up. So I definitely want to crop this thing because I need to fill the entire frame. He needs to run from here to here. One thing I can't do is I can't just grab one of these dots and pull it out to the right, because that's just going to change the size of the frame. I need to hold down Command and Shift And when I do that, and I grab one of that bottom right dot, it allows me to scale the picture proportionally. But I've got a problem here. My picture is too square, basically, compared to the rest of the page. So what I have to do is I have to push and hold, holding down the Command and the Shift buttons with my left hand. And I'm going to drag this thing to make it bigger, until it fills the whole thing up. And at that point, I need to be careful though. You can see barely down here that the picture is running off the bottom of the page, and there's nothing really wrong with that. It's just that I might get confused because this is not the height of my document. My document ends here. So now I need to crop this picture some. So to do that, I'm going to click on this picture and scroll until I can see the bottom part of it. And I'm going to move it straight up. I'm going to go over and look at my go by. So I need to be able to see a little fleck of his collar here, a little bit of, I guess this is his knuckle, and I'm whacking both ears, the left ear of the dog quite a bit, the right ear just a little bit. So I'm going to keep moving this. And I realize that even if I do this, I don't have the photograph being the right proportion yet. So I'm going to click on the photograph. I'm going to grab this top dot. I'm holding no buttons down. And I'm going to pull down until this touches the top of the page. I'm going to push and hold down and pull this till I get to here. And the picture definitely bleeds, but it's not looking like my go-by. My go-by was cropped even more severely. I need to get it to line up like this, or none of the rest of these parts will ever end up fitting. So I'm going to, again, come back here and hold down Command-Shift, and I'm going to grab this top right dot. And maybe I'm going to try it about like this. And I'm going to click on the picture box, and I'm going to grab this top dot, holding no buttons down, and I'm going to pull it down until I get to here. Closer, but not quite right still. Command-Shift, click on the box with the black arrow tool, Command-Shift, again, grab this bottom right dot, and I'm going to move him down even more. So this is going to take some time to experiment until you think that you have it close. Once you think you have it closer, I know that I'm cropping this ear too much and this one too much, but I'm seeing too much of the collar. Now I switch over to the white arrow tool, and I click on the picture, and this tool, when you pops up, it has a hand on it. This is actually the cropping tool, which allows me to pull this down. Slide him over until he's looking about more like this. I also have way too much picture out here, which is going to confuse me, so I'm going to grab this and pull it in. Sorry, I'm going back to the black arrow tool, grab this, pull this thing in. Now I'm going to go back. If at some point I want to stop scrolling around on this thing, a handy command shortcut to use is Command and then type 0, which will fit my window back in its home place. And I'm going to flip back over and look at my go by right now. I think I've kind of got what I want. Needed to be able to see a little bit of his knuckle, so I think that's looking pretty good right now. So it doesn't need to be exact, but it needs to be pretty close to that. I'm going to say that that's good enough. Now that I've got the picture placed, it's time for me to go ahead and add some of the text. So I'm going to navigate back or hide this and go back and open up this pet billboard instructions. And on here I've written down everything from how big the document's supposed to be, what the margins are, the font. I'm noting here right now that the headline size is 80 on 80. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to find my headline for Colby. And I'm going to copy it. And I'm going back to InDesign. I'm going to go get the text tool. I am not going to start the text tool way up here in the top left corner. If I do, I'm going to end up attaching the text to the top left corner of the picture and it won't be movable. So instead, I'm just going to come here. I'm going to draw a text box about that big. I don't just get to click the text tool on the page, I have to actually draw a box. I'm going to go up to edit and pull down to paste. Great. I'm going to hit Command A or highlight across all this. I'm going to change my font up here to Oswald. And I'm going to go ahead and change my font size to 80. And I'm going to change my leading to 80. And then other things that told me to change was to change the kerning from metrics to optical. I'm going to come back in and highlight just the headline part of it. And I'm going to go find this button right here, right up to the right of the type size. That if I click on that, that's going to allow that to make it all cap. I also know that these two lines right here are not 80 on 80. They are 40 on 40. And I'm going to click in front of the hyphen to hit return and move that down. Okay, let's see how I'm doing right now. Okay, looking pretty good. It's the wrong color though. So I'm going to go back to InDesign. I'm going to highlight all the text either by highlighting across it, or I can click somewhere in it and hit Command and then A to highlight all of it. I'm going to move on here to the swatches. This is very odd. The fill is the box that is top and to the left. This is the stroke. Right now it's telling me my fill is black. I'm going to change that to be paper. So now I've got my white headline, which is great. I need to add those quote marks, but you'll notice from the go by, there's something different about them. They're huge and they're very offset, especially over here. Rather than this being set into the text, they're pushed to the outside, which is kind of a common trend people are doing both on websites and in graphic design today. So that looks a lot different than me coming in here and typing a tiny little quote mark right up to the side of that. So I need to make a whole new text block. What I need to do here is I need to make sure that I'm not touching my existing text block. Matter of fact, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go back and click on the gray space above the page to clear everything. I'm going to click on the text block with my black arrow tool, not the text tool. I'm going to carefully grab this bottom right dot and I'm going to move it a little bit to the right, and I'm going to move it up so that I can have this block be as small as possible. And I'm going to click out here in the gray area off the side of the page, and I'm going to go with the text tool. I do not want to try to draw my quote mark too close to these things, so I'm just going to actually put it over here on top of his face. And I'm going to make a huge text box because I'll show you why in just a second. So I drew a huge text box for my quote mark. I'm going to make the quote mark. Highlight the quote mark. Change the font to Oswald. Change the font size on this to 480. The leading doesn't matter because I don't have multiple lines of text. I hope this should look different to you. I'm grabbing this and moving it over. There's way too much space here compared to what I have on the go by, and that's just because that's just the way the font is built. So I'm actually going to highlight that, delete it, and I'm going to type 2 single quote marks. Now they're way too far apart, but because they're 2 separate things, I'm going to highlight them, change the kerning from metrics to optical, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to say minus 100. That's looking better. My problem here though is that I've got a lot of overlapping pieces and my quote mark box had to be really big. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a piece of art. I'm going to go up to type, pull down here to where it says create outlines. And now it's no longer text. This is a piece of artwork that looks like the quote marks, but my box around it is really small. I'm going to come back over here to my swatches panel, or maybe I collapsed it. Right now the stroke is on top, so that means any color change that I end up making is going to end up applying to a line around the edge of the quote mark. So I need to click carefully right up here until I bring the fill box to the front, and then I don't have the right color in here, so I'm going to come up to the hamburger icon. That's what people call these online, this little teeny icon that has multiple horizontal lines. It's supposed to be like the side view of a Big Mac. Click on it, pull down to New Color Swatch. I want this to say Process and CMYK, and I want to change my color here so there's 0 cyan, 50 magenta, 100 yellow, 0 black. That's pretty much what Crayola calls their orange crayon. As long as I'm here, I might as well go ahead and add a color that I'm going to need for the cat page. Click on the hamburger icon, New Color Swatch. On this one, actually, I'm going to make it yellow, so I'm going to make it be 20% magenta, 100% yellow, so it's kind of like a school bus yellow. And then I'm going to make one more color, New Color Swatch. This one I'm going to make it 30 cyan, 0 magenta, 100 yellow. Okay, it's been changing the whole time because this thing was selected, so now I come back and I set the fill to be orange. Click off to the side. If I don't want the swatch palette anymore, I can just click on the word swatches and it'll collapse back into the palette. I'm going to move this over to the left edge of the page so that it is sitting right here on that pink line. Click on something gray up there off the edge of the page. Then I'm going to move this down and I'm going to position with the black arrow tool. I want to look at this so that the space between these two things right here, between the quote mark and the beginning of the headline, looks about like the space between any of the words. And if you're worried about being precise, you can click on the text block with the black arrow tool, just typing the right arrow key a couple of places. I'm going to say that's perfect. Rather than going through all the rigmarole of making that all over again, I'm going to go ahead and just click on the orange quote mark, edit, copy, edit, paste. And then I'm going to come up here while it's still selected, and I'm going to find the rotate command here, and I could either type in 180 degrees right here, or I could simply hit rotate 90 degrees until it looks like that. Then I'm going to position this so it's sitting right here. Great. Now, one thing that I need to do is I need to move these things. I need to group them so that when I move them, they'll all move together rather than moving separate pieces. I know that this isn't aligned by as I write, so I'm going to have to move all of these things. I'm going to carefully try to hold the shift button down. First of all, I'm going to click off on something gray. I'm going to click on that orange quote mark. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to click on the second quote mark. And then I'm going to click on the text block. When I think I have all three things selected, I'm going to Object and Group. Now, they're all one piece that I can move. So I want to move this so that, again, the edge of the quote mark is sitting right here on the pink line. And I want to put it, I'm just going to use my arrow keys to tap it. I want him looking about like that. Okay, that looks good to me. It's a little bit tighter than what I wanted to, but it's still going to end up being just fine. I'm going to go ahead and add the drop shadow to this. So I'm going to click on it. Now, it would seem intuitive that you would, to make a drop shadow, that you would highlight the letters you want to have the drop shadow on, but that's not how it works. Instead, I'm going to click on something gray off the edge of the page up here, click on my block, go up to Object, Effects, Drop Shadow. This box pops up. And all I'm going to do on this is I'm going to change the offset. Actually, I'm just going to leave the offset. I'm going to change the opacity because I think it's too dark, down to 50%. And I'll say that's fine. Click OK. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the go by. I need to place this adopt logo. I have these three logos over here, and I have these two blocks of text, and then I'm pretty much done with the dog. So I'm going to go get the adopt logo. I'm going to make sure I have the black arrow tool, click off so that nothing is selected. Go up to File, pull down to Place. Find the adopt logo. Let me click it on his face. Click on something gray. Then I'm going to go up to File and I'm going to pull down to where it says Place, and I'm going to go find the Ad Council white logo. I'm going to place that up here. One reason why I keep clicking off on something gray is I have to clear it, because if for some reason this was still selected and I went up to File, Place, and I clicked on this one, it's going to replace the last thing that I was touching with that logo. So I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. But I placed the Ad Council white. I'm going to place the Maddie's Fund white. Click on something gray, then I'm going to go up to File, Place, and I'm going to pull down onto the Humane Society white. So that's all my different pieces that I need right there. I'm going to place the Adopt logo so that it's sitting about here like this. Then I also know that I gave you on the instructions the Ad Council logo is the exact perfect size. So let me go find where it's supposed to be. It's kind of half on his ear, half off. All right, these two logos are too big. So what I need to do is help myself to draw guidelines so I know how much smaller to make these two logos, because they're never going to be the size you want them to end up being. To make a horizontal guideline, I go up to this horizontal ruler. I push and hold. I need to make sure that the tip of my arrow is actually in the ruler so that I see those up and down arrows. I don't go above it. I don't go below it. Grab this. Pull this down and put it right below the Ad Council logo. So the top of it is on this pink line and the bottom of it is touching this blue line. Now I need to go ahead and resize the Maddie's Fun logo. So I'm going to click on it with the black arrow tool, hold down Command Shift so that I don't do something like this, because I can't. I'm going to hold down Command and Shift. I'm going to make the logo smaller and I'm going to move it over here. Until it's the same size as that. And then I want to zoom in over here, so I'm going to actually click on the Humane Society logo and then hit Command plus. It's going to help me zoom in so that I can see what I'm doing better. I'm going to put the top, like the RAM, where the state of Washington or Seattle would be, right up there. Command Shift, grab the bottom right dot, so that I'm scaling it proportionally, and I'm going to pull it down so it sits about like that. And then I'm going to move this over to the side so that Main is kind of touching the top right corner. Now, in order to help space these out properly, I could try to guess to line these up, but there's a tool already built in here for that. So what I need to do is to go get a new tool. Go up to where it says Window, pull down to Object and Layout, and slide over to Align. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click once on the Ad Council, hold the Shift button down, click once on Maddie's Fund, and click once on the Humane Society, because obviously the gap between these is much bigger than this. Rather than me trying to line them up, I'm going to go to my Align palette. And I'm actually not going to use the Align feature. I'm going to go to Distribute Objects. I'm going to slide over on these until I get to this one. Distribute Horizontal Centers, and I'm going to click. And that's going to go ahead and automatically space those three logos the right distance apart. And I'm going to click the little X to get rid of this thing. Now, because I've zoomed in, I did that by hitting Command and plus to zoom. I could hit Command minus to zoom back out and then use the scroll bar. But the simplest shortcut to remember in InDesign, or actually in any of the Adobe programs, is Command and 0 to make it fit in the window. I've got two last little pieces of type to add, and then we'll be done with this one. So I'm going to go back and look at my go by. I need this to be yellow, and I need this line down here. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight these mandatories down here at the bottom. To edit, pull down the copy, go back to my InDesign document. I'm going to make myself a new text block up here on his face. I'm going to hit paste. I'm going to highlight across that text. Change this again to be Oswald. Font size for pretty much everything over here is 20. 20. Change the kerning to optical. And now that I've done that, I need to go back to look at my go by to see what's going on. So my slogan is in yellow. My website is white, except it's highlighted Shelter Pet Project in orange. So I'm going to come back over here, highlight all this, open up my swatches palette, change it to fill it with yellow. I'm going to go back and highlight that last line. I'm going to change that to be white. And I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to highlight just, I need to move this. So I'm going to click on that and hit Command plus. I need to change this so that Shelter Pet Project is filled with orange. And then I also need to go ahead and highlight the slogan and then click this button right after the type size, which will change that to be all cap. And then I can handle this a couple different ways. My text block is way too wide, so I'm going to make it narrower. But the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and look at this person, best, happen. So a person in front of the I, I'm going to hit click and hit return, is the best, happen. Person is the best thing to happen, is the best thing to, I was wrong, I need to leave that out here, click in front of the word to. I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to come over to these icons over here. These are the shortcuts for the alignment. It's not flush left, it's flush right. I'm going to highlight the Shelter Pet Project and cut it. Go get the black arrow tool. I'm going to make the size of my text block smaller. I'm going to hit Command 0, close my swatch palette. I'm going to move this down so it's in the right place. I'm going to hit Command plus while that's clicked to zoom into that corner. I'm going to get the text block tool. I'm going to draw a block, but I don't want it to be on top of something that's already there. So I'm going to draw it out here and hit paste. I'm going to move this so that it is sitting on the bottom of that pink line with the word org right here to the right. I'm going to click on the adopt logo and I'm going to move it up. And I'll tell you what, just kind of eyeball this. So it seems to be fitting. Command 0 to take me back to fit in the window. One more thing I'm going to want to do is just to double check. I'm clicking off on something gray up above so that nothing on the page is selected. I can flash this document, which means hit the W button, and that is going to hide my guidelines. I think everything looks good except that adopt is sticking out too far, so I'm going to click on the adopt logo and I'm going to pull it back on in. It's okay if the little tail of the T pokes out beyond that pink line a little bit. And I'm going to decide that that looks pretty good. Now I could come back in here and click on each piece individually, click on it with the black arrow tool, not the text tool, object, effects, drop shadow. Change it to 50. Okay. Click on the word adopt. I could do each one of these things individually, but that means I have to do it 3 times. The smarter thing for me to do is to click on Shelter Pet Project with the black arrow tool, not the text tool. Hold the shift button down, click on the slogan and click on the adopt logo and go to object group. Once again, the benefit of that is that now those are all one piece. And now when I come back up and I go to object, effects, drop shadow, and hit apply at 50%, it's going to add it to everything. So with that, my dog is done. So I need to go up to File and pull down to Save As. Change the name of it to Pet Billboard, and then maybe put your first name on it. And then the last thing I need to do is let's go ahead and make the cat version of it real quick, just so that you can see how fast, once you make one thing, it's very easy to make a second thing. So I'm going to come up here to where it says Layout, Pages, Add a Page. I'm going to come down here to the bottom left corner because now I'm on page 2 by this thing down here. And I'm going to change the caret to go back to page 1. I'm going to hold down the command button and type A for all. I'm going to go up to Edit, Copy, click on something gray, navigate to page 2. Now go up to Edit and don't go to Paste, but go to Paste in Place. And that's going to align everything in the exact same spot. Now, what I need to do is let's go look at my cat version of this. So, a couple things that have changed. One, these logos are not in the top right corner anymore. Why? Because the cat would be looking right at it. Way too much attention for that. So they moved these things down over here. They changed these things to be green. The text is black over here for the headline. And there's no drop shadow on it. And then down here in the bottom right corner, same kind of pattern as the other one. The website's in green and white. The slogan's in green. The adopt logo's in white. And I've got black versions of these things. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my document instructions and I'm going to highlight the name or the headline, actually. Back to my InDesign document, and again I know that I'm on page 2. I'm going to take the text tool and I'm going to highlight between the period and that, and I'm going to hit paste, and it's popped in my new headline, and everything's already formatted, so I don't have to change the size or anything like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click, I'm going to re-highlight the headline, and I'm going to go to swatches and I'm going to change that to be black. Another thing I'm going to do while I'm here is I'm going to go up to click on something gray, click on this entire thing, my whole grouped version of my headline and my quote marks, go up to Object, Effects, Drop Shadow, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck it so it disappears. Click OK. Now I do have a problem with my text not being the right dimension anymore, so I'm going to click on the headline, go up to Object, and I'm going to pull down to Ungroup, which is right below Group. And I'm going to click on the text block. I'm going to grab this dot here on the side, and I'm going to pull it far enough out. There we go. Every morning my human shaves off his face fur, comma, he's funny like that. Cool. Then I'm going to go ahead as long as I'm here, and I'm going to change his name as Tuck. And he was born on 5/04/11. Go ahead and click in front of the A, hit Tab, highlight this, change that to black, go get the black arrow tool, click on my quote mark. Again, I'm doing this because everything's in group, to change it from orange to my green color. Change this one to my green color. I do remember from my go by that it had a thin black outline. Great. Click on this. Make sure that the stroke comes up on top. Click black. Click on this one. Also click the stroke to be black. Now that I've changed the color of that, I'm going to close this by clicking on the word swatches temporarily. I'm going to click on top of my dog picture, and I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to pull down to Place. And I'm going to go find my cat wide. There he is. I'm going to go get the white arrow tool, click on something gray, come back and click on the picture, push and hold on that, slide that down. Let's see how he's lined on the go by. I can see all of his ear, and I can this is barely getting cut off. So I'm going to once again pull that down just a little teeny bit more. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and get the black arrow tool, Command 0 to fit it back in place. I'm going to go ahead and change the slogan from this yellow color, highlight it, go to swatches. If I can't see this, I'm going to grab the swatches palette and I'm going to pull it over to the side. I can click the fast forward to get rid of that. I'm going to fill that with green. I'm going to re-highlight just the part of the web address that I want. Change that to be green. The last thing I need, click this X to get rid of this. The last thing I need to do is I need to move these out of the way and put them over here and reposition this. So I'm going to click on this quote mark and I'm going to pull it out here to the right. Once again, I'm going to hold the shift button down and click on that, plus that, object group. If I go back and look at the go by, it's pretty much lined up straight across from his eye. So grab this, pull that up to there. Click on something gray, make sure I've clicked on something gray with the black arrow tool, hit the W button so that my margins pop back up. I'm going to click on this guy, hold down the shift, click on that one, hold down the shift, click on that one. I could group these, but I'm not going to bother to. I'm going to grab this and move all, by moving one, I'm going to pop them so they're sitting on this pink line down here at the bottom. And they should be lined up underneath the word tuck and adopted, not over here with the edge of that. Tap this down. Now I'm going to go click one by one. Click on the Ad Council logo. Go up to File, pull down to Place. In that same folder was Ad Council logo black. Remember, that was the right size though. These are the two that we had to resize. Click on the Maddie's Fund, File, Place. Maddie's Fund gray, and I don't have to resize them again since this box already contains the resizing information from when I made it really big to small. It's going to remember all that. Place, and I'm coming down here and finding Humane Society black. And at that point, I'm going to hit W. That looks like the other one now, so I'm done. Once again, I'm going to go up to File and I'm going to pull down to Save. Here's the thing, I cannot turn in an InDesign document. Pretend that I don't have it. Your client's not going to have it. Your boss isn't going to have it. Only graphic design people or people creating content are going to have it. So to be able to make this document something that I can send somewhere else, I go up to File. I don't pull down to Save. Instead, I find Export. My format I pick is Adobe PDF Print. I can go ahead and leave this name here, or if you really wanted to, you could change the name if it would make you feel more comfortable. Hit Save. In the PDF box, make sure that this thing is set for high quality print. Come on down here and hit Export. It's telling me that I have overset text, but I can't see any kind of a problem. Everything appears to be showing up the way that I wanted to. So I hit OK. While this little teeny bar is drawing little teeny gray things up and down, that means it's saving it. And at this point, I'm going to close that, go back to my desktop, and I should have my new Billboard Curtis with 2 S's.pdf. There you go. A 2-page PDF with both of these documents, perfectly ready for me to go ahead and resubmit or upload to Blackboard.